Welcome to iRise online classes. This session will go for question tags. There will not be a direct question on tags. A question on tags may appear in the spotting the error part or in the sentence improvement part. Now question tags. If I say sentence and tag, right? A sentence will be there followed by a tag. A sentence and a tag. If the sentence is positive, the tag must be negative. If the sentence is negative, the tag must be positive. It's always positive sentence, negative tag, negative sentence, positive tag. And the case of tags, question tags, a sentence can be termed as negative when there is an N word in the sentence. Right? I repeat, in the case of tags, a sentence can be termed as negative when there is an N word in the sentence. N word means no, not, never, none, nobody, no one, etc. The word seldom, none is the same as no one. The word seldom also comes in the category of N words. So when there is an N word in the sentence can be termed as negative in the case of question tags. Clear? And as I told you, positive sentence, negative tag, negative sentence, positive tag. If there is an N word in the sentence, in the tag there should not be an N word. Similarly, if there is no N word in the sentence, in the tag there must be an N word. Right? And we can frame a tag using the auxiliary verb and the noun or the pronoun in the sentence. A tag can be framed using the auxiliary verb and the noun or the pronoun in the sentence. Clear? And actually, even though if a noun is given, we should not use a noun in a tag. In the tag, we have to go only for a pronoun. Even if you come across a noun in a sentence, we have to go for a pronoun to replace a noun in the tag. If there is a noun in a sentence, if there is no pronoun but a noun in the sentence, in the tag we have to go for a pronoun to replace the noun that is given in the sentence. So very precise, to be very precise, a tag can be framed using the auxiliary verb and the pronoun. Right. Now come to this one. She is great, we have to go for the tag. The auxiliary verb in this sentence is, right. There is no negative term in the tag, in the sentence, so tag must be negative. And we can frame the tag using the auxiliary verb and the pronoun here. Right. The auxiliary verb here is. No negative term in the sentence, the tag must be negative. The short form of is not is isn't. We don't use full forms in the tag, we use only short forms in the tag. In the tag, we don't go for a full form, we go only for a short form. Is not, short form is isn't. The pronoun here is she, subject here is she, so it must be isn't she. She is great, isn't she. They weren't playing well. Weren't is a short form of were not. So we have a negative term in the sentence, so in the tag there should not be a negative word. The sentence is negative, the tag must be positive. The auxiliary verb here is were, the pronoun here is they, so it must be were they. Right? They weren't playing well, it must be were they. He was studying. The auxiliary verb here is was. No negative term, so the tag we need to have a negative term. Wasn't, short form is was not, short form is wasn't. So wasn't, the pronoun here is he, so wasn't he. He was studying, the answer must be wasn't he. I am good. I am good, the auxiliary verb here is am. Right. There is no negative term here, so tag must be negative. Am not, what is short form of am not? There's nothing like amn't, right? There's nothing like amn't. The exact short form of am not is ain't, A-I-N apostrophe T. I ain't a good boy. I ain't a good boy means I'm not a good boy. The short form of am not is ain't. But in the case of tags, question tags, we don't use ain't. Instead of ain't, we use aren't. Right? Even though am not is ain't, in the case of tags, we don't use ain't. Instead of ain't, we use aren't. So it must be aren't. The pronoun is I, so aren't I. Clear? In the case of tags, we don't use ain't, we use aren't. So I am good, it must be aren't I. Now as I told you, we don't use a noun in the tag, we use a pronoun in the tag. he, she, they, he, I, all these are pronouns. The pronoun that appears in the tag must be in the subjective form. Is the rule. The pronoun that appears in the tag must be in the subjective form. I have given you the list of subjective pronouns, objective pronouns and possessive pronouns while discussing the topic pronouns. Subjective pronouns are he, she, it, they, I, we, you. Right? Who is also there, but who doesn't come in the tag. So he, she, I, they, you, we, it are subjective pronouns. The pronoun that comes in the tag must be in the subjective form. Right? Come to this one. She subjective, they subjective, he subjective, I subjective. All these are subjective pronouns. Pronouns in the subjective form. Right. Come to next one. They can help us. The auxiliary verb here is can. There's no negative term here, so tag must be negative. Cannot, the short form is can't. We pronounce as can't actually, but in fact the correct pronunciation is can't. Doesn't matter. So they can help us. It must be can't. The subject here is they, so can't they. We couldn't go there. Couldn't is a short form of could not. Couldn't is a short form of could not. The auxiliary verb is could. We have a negative term in the sentence, so there should not be a negative term in the tag. We couldn't go there. The auxiliary verb here is could. The subject is they, so it must be could we. We couldn't go there, could we. He will come here. The auxiliary verb here is will. There's no negative term in the tag, so in the sentence, so we need to have a negative term in the tag. Will not, there's nothing like willn't. The short form of will not is won't. You know this. W-O-N apostrophe T. No negative term in the sentence. In the tag there must be a negative term. Will changes to won't. The subject here is he, so it must be won't he. Getting it? The next one. We shall help her. The subject here is we, first person. With first person we use shall. I told you this while discussing tenses. With first person, second person, with first person use shall. With second person, third person use will. When a sentence talks about a compulsory action, reverse the rule. With first person use will, with second person, third person use shall. If you check the rules we discussed in tense, in the topic tense you will find it. We shall help her. The auxiliary verb here is shall. No negative term, so tag must be negative. Shall not, there's nothing like shalln't. There's no usage like shalln't. Will not is won't. The short form of will not is won't. The short form of shall not is shan't. S-H-A-N apostrophe T. Nothing like shalln't, it is shan't. No negative term, the tag must be negative. Shall not, short form of shan't. The subject here is we, so it must be shan't we. We shall help her, shan't we. The next one. They should be loyal. I told you, we frame a tag using the auxiliary verb and the pronoun, the subject in the sentence. They should be loyal. Can should be called an auxiliary verb? Yes. I have told you this while discussing subject verb agreement. Auxiliary verbs are divided into three: linking, helping and modals. Should is a modal. It tells us about a compulsory action. Must, should, have to, need to, ought to, has to, had to, etc. Should is a modal. Modal is an auxiliary verb. So we have to frame the tag using should. They should be loyal. There's no negative term here. Tag must be negative. Should not, short form is shouldn't. Shouldn't. The subject here is they, so it must be shouldn't they. They should be loyal, shouldn't they. He must love her. Is must an auxiliary verb? Yes, must is a modal. Like should. Should is a modal telling us about a compulsory action. Must is also a modal telling us about a compulsory action. So the auxiliary verb in this sense is must. No negative term here. Tag must be negative. Is there anything like mustn't? Is there any usage like mustn't? Yes. Should not is shouldn't. Must not is mustn't. M-U-S-T-N apostrophe T. It is not pronounced as mustn't. It is pronounced as mustn't. Should not is shouldn't. Must not is mustn't. Mustn't is there even though we don't use it. We don't use it, that's a problem. We must love her. The tag must be negative. The subject is he. he must love her, the tag becomes mustn't he. He must love her is mustn't he. Come to the next. They have a house. If you remember, we have gone for it in detail in the topic tenses. I told you, has, have and had can be auxiliary verbs as well as main verbs. Then I told you with examples how has and have can be auxiliary verbs as well as main verbs. We have discussed it in the remaining sessions as well. Main verb means action. When there is no main verb after has, have and had, they are termed as main verbs. Right? When there is a main verb after has, have and had, they are termed as auxiliary verbs. This is how to identify whether has, have and had in a sentence are main verbs or auxiliary verbs. When there is no main verb after has, have and had, they are termed as main verbs. When there is a main verb after has, have and had, they are termed as auxiliary verbs. Come to the statement. They have a house. In this sentence, is there any main verb after have? No. So have becomes a main verb. Right? There's no main verb after have. So have becomes a main verb here. We cannot frame a tag using the main verb. We have to frame a tag using the auxiliary verb in the sentence. Have is a main verb. Is there any auxiliary verb in this sentence? No. They is a pronoun. House is a noun. A is an article. Have is a main verb here. There's no auxiliary verb in this sentence, but we need an auxiliary verb to frame the tag. Right? There's no auxiliary verb here. They have a house. Tense and category. Have is a main verb here. Nothing much to do. Just write down the order of the sentence. They have a house. The subject here is they. Plus have is a main verb here. All main verbs have three forms: V1, V2 and V3. Have is V1, V2, V3. V1, V2 is had, V3 is also had. So this sentence is in the order subject plus V1 and subject plus V1 is simple present. So this sentence is in the simple present tense. They have a house means they own a house, they possess a house. That's the meaning. Right? Simple present, no auxiliary verb. Now the rule is this. Listen. If a sentence is in the simple present tense, in the tag we have to use do or does. Right? If a sentence is in the simple present tense, in the tag we have to use do or does. Do is plural, does is singular because of the es. Fine. Now come to the same statement once again. They have a house, simple present tense, so we have to use do or does. In this case, it must be do or does. What subject here? The subject here is they, plural. If the subject is plural, the verb must also be plural. So in this case, it cannot be does, it must be do, right? So undoubtedly, we have to go for do. Any negative term here? There's no negative term in the sentence, so in the tag, there must be a negative term. So do becomes do not, right? We don't use full forms in the tag, we use only short forms in the tag. What is short form of do not? Don't. So in this case, we have to use don't. The subject is they, so tag must be don't they. Getting it? They have a house, don't they. Come on next. She has her breakfast. Has is a main verb, auxiliary verb here. Main verb. There is no main verb after has, so has becomes a main verb here, and we don't frame a tag using a main verb. The subject here is he. Plus has is a main verb here. V1, V2, V3. V1. Has is V1. Had is V2. Had is V3. Is have, had, has, had. She has her breakfast means she eats her breakfast. It's a meaning. Or she possesses her breakfast, etc. Subject plus V1 is simple present. And as is simple present, in the tag we have to go for do or does. There's no auxiliary verb here. In this case, do or does. The subject here is she, singular. So verb must also be singular. In this case, we have to go for does. There's no negative term here. Tag must be negative. So does becomes does not. We can use only a short form in the tag. Does not, short form is doesn't. So in this sentence, we have to go for doesn't. The subject is she, so tag becomes doesn't she. Clear? She has her breakfast, doesn't she? Getting it? Come on, next one. We had a car. In this sentence, had is a main verb, auxiliary verb. There is no main verb after had, so had becomes a main verb here. We is a pronoun, car is a noun, is an article, had is a main verb here. There is no auxiliary verb in this sentence. But as you know, we need an auxiliary verb to frame the tag. Which tense, which category? Just write down the order. The subject here is we, plus had is a main verb in the V2 form and V3 form. It's have, had, has, had. There's no structure like subject plus V3. You know that really well. There's something like subject plus V2. So had is in the V2 form here. Subject plus V2 is simple past. So this sentence is in the simple past tense. No auxiliary verb, it is simple past. I told you, if a sentence is in the simple present tense, in the tag we have to use do or does. If a sentence is in the simple past tense, in the tag we have to use did. The past tense of both do and does is did. So simple present means in the tag use do or does. Simple past means in the tag use did. Come to the same sentence once again. We had a car, simple past tense. So in the tag we have to go for did. Right. There is no negative term in the sentence. So in the tag we must have a negative term. So did changes to did not. We want the short form of it. Did not, short form is D-I-D-N apostrophe T. Even though it is written as D-I-D-N apostrophe T, it is not pronounced as didn't, it is pronounced as didn't. So we have to go for didn't. The subject is we, so it must be didn't we. We had a car, didn't we? We had a car means we owned a car, we possessed a car, etc. So we had a car, didn't we? Getting it? So simple present means in the tag use do or does. Simple past means the tag use did. Come next statement. She has stolen my book. In this sentence, has is a main verb, auxiliary verb. I say in this sentence, has is an auxiliary verb because we have a main verb after has. What is that? Stolen. Stolen is a main verb here, so has becomes an auxiliary verb. We have to frame a tag based on with the auxiliary verb in the sentence. So in this case, the tag must be framed with has because has is an auxiliary verb. There is no negative term here, so in the tag there must be a negative word. Has not, short form is hasn't. The subject is she, so tag must be hasn't she. She has stolen my book, hasn't she? The next one. They haven't called him. Have is an auxiliary verb here because called is a main. Right. Have is an auxiliary verb, so we have to frame the tag with have. Haven't is a short form of have not. In the sentence we have a negative word. In the tag there should not be a negative word, so in the tag it must be have. The subject here is they, so it must be have they. They haven't called him, have they. Come next one. She doesn't like him. The auxiliary verb here is does, because like is a main verb. Does is the auxiliary verb here, and does is a short form of does not. In the sentence we have a negative term. In the tag there should not be a negative term. In the tag it must be does. Subject is she, so it must be does she. She doesn't like him, does she. They don't help us. The auxiliary verb here is do. Help is a main verb. Don't is a short form of do not. We have a negative term in the sentence. In the tag there should not be a negative term, so the tag it must be do. The subject here is they, so it must be do they. They don't help us, do they? The next one. She never works hard. Is there any auxiliary verb here? There's no auxiliary verb in this sentence. The verb here is works, main verb. It's an action. The subject here is she. Works is V1. Subject plus V1 is simple present. So we have to go for do or does. In this case, do or does. Does. The subject here is she, singular. Verb must also be singular. It must be does. Do you have a negative word here? N word here? Yes. Never is an N word. We have an N word in the sentence. In the tag there should not be an N word, so it must be does. The subject is she, so the answer must be does she. She never works hard, does she? She works hard, doesn't she? Right? We have an N word in the sentence here. In the tag there should not be an N word, so she never works hard, it must be does she. The next one. He used to go there. Grammatically correct or wrong? We have discussed the rule regarding the usage used to. When there is an auxiliary verb, now if there is an auxiliary verb in front of used to will be followed by ing. I told you this in the exceptions on tenses. If there is an auxiliary verb in front of used to will be followed by ing. If there is no auxiliary verb in front of used to will be followed by V1 plural. He used to go there. There is no auxiliary verb in front of used to, so used to must be followed by V1 plural. Go is V1 plural. That rule is completely fine, grammatically correct. Used to means it is past tense, simple past. There is no auxiliary verb here. This sentence is in the simple past tense. In the tag we have to use did. No negative term here, so tag must be negative. Did not, the short form of did not is didn't. The subject is he, so it must be didn't he. He used to go there, it must be didn't he. The next one. He died yesterday. There is no negative term here, right? Sorry, there is no auxiliary verb here. The verb here is died, main verb, and he died is subject plus V2, simple past. So in the tag we have to use did. Right? He died yesterday. The sentence is negative positive. He died yesterday is negative. So now my question is, the tag must be did he or didn't he? What must be the tag here? Which of these two must be the tag here? Did he or didn't he? He died yesterday. The sentence is negative. Right? So did he or didn't he? I say it must be didn't he. I told you twice or thrice, in the case of question tags, a sentence can be termed as negative when there is an N word in the sentence. There is no N word here. If there is an N word in the sentence, in the tag there should not be an N word. If there is no N word in the sentence, in the tag there must be an N word. There is no N word in the sentence, in the tag we need to have an N word. So in this case it must be didn't he and not did he. So he died yesterday, didn't he? Come to this one. We failed the exam. No auxiliary verb, subject plus V2, simple past. So we have to use did. We failed the exam, the sentence is negative, we know that. But there is no N word in the sentence. In the sentence there is no N word. In the tag there must be an N word. So this also must be didn't. The subject is we. So didn't we. We failed the exam, didn't we? Got it? See whether there is an N word in the sentence. If not, in the tag there must be an N word. So he died yesterday, didn't he? We failed the exam, didn't we? They shout at him. There is no auxiliary verb here. Shout is V1, subject plus V1 is simple present. And if it is simple present, we have to go for do or does. In this case, we have to go for do. The subject here is they, plural, so we have to go for do. There is no N word in the sentence. In the tag, there must be an N word. Do not, short form is don't. The subject is they, so it must be don't they. They shout at him, don't they. Getting it? Come to the next one. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves him. No auxiliary verb. Loves is B1, subject plus B1, simple present. We have to go for do or does. Right. Now, everybody loves him, everybody love him, which is correct. The subject here is everybody. Everybody is an indefinite pronoun. I gave the list of indefinite pronouns as separate rule while discussing subject-verb agreement. Someone, somebody, something, anyone, anybody, no one, nobody, no, none, anyone, anybody, all these are indefinite pronouns. Now the rule is this, listen. In the case of question tags, indefinite pronouns tell us that the subject is singular, the verb must also be singular. Loves him, grammatically correct. In the case of question tags, if the subject in the sentence is an indefinite pronoun, no one, nobody, none, anyone, anybody, someone, somebody, everyone, everybody. I repeat, in the case of tags, if the subject in the sentence is an indefinite pronoun, in the tag we have to use they. I repeat, in the case of question tags, if the subject in the sentence is an indefinite pronoun, in the tag we have to use they. Everybody is an indefinite pronoun, so in the tag we have to use they. That is clear. Now decide do or does. Does cannot be used with they. They is a plural pronoun. The verb along with it must also be plural. So it cannot be does, it must be do. There is no negative term in the sentence, so in the tag there must be a negative term. N word. Do becomes don't, so here the answer must be don't they. Everybody loves him, don't they. Come next one. None likes him. No auxiliary verb. Likes is V1. Subject plus V1 is simple present. We have to use do or does in the tag. The subject, likes V1. The subject here is none. None is an indefinite pronoun. So in the sentence, the subject is an indefinite pronoun. So in the tag, we have to go for they, undoubtedly. And with they, we cannot use does, it must be do. Any N word in the sentence? Yes. None is an N word. We have an N word in the sentence. So in the tag, there should not be an N word. So here the tag must be do they. None likes him, do they. Clear? It cannot be does, because with they, we cannot go for a singular verb. So everybody loves him, don't they? None likes him, do they? Come to the next one. All of them are studying. All of them are studying. The auxiliary verb here is are. No negative term, so tag must be negative. Are not, short form is aren't. So we got it, aren't. Now, all of them are studying. I told you, the pronoun that comes in the tag must be in the subjective form. Them is an objective pronoun. I gave in the list of objective pronouns. We need a subjective pronoun in the tag. What is the subjective form of them? They. They is subjective, them is objective, so it must be aren't they. All of them are studying, aren't they? All of us are studying. The auxiliary verb is are. No negative term in the sentence. In the tag there must be a negative term, so are changes to are not. All of us are studying. The pronoun here is us. Us is an objective pronoun. We need a subjective pronoun in the tag. What is subjective form of us? We. Us is subjective, we is objective, so it must be aren't we. All of them are studying, aren't they? All of us are studying, aren't we? Clear? Come to these three sentences. Get out. Please help us. Let's go there. Get out means you get out. The subject here is you, understood. There is no need for me to look at you and say you get out. I can just say get out. The subject is you, understood. Get out is an order. Get out is an order. Please help us. This is a request, right? Because please is always for a request. Please help us means you please help us. The subject here is you, understood. There's no need for me to look at you and say you please help us. I can just say please help us. The subject you is understood here. Request. Let's go there. Let's is always for a suggestion. We've all discussed it in the case of voice and speech. Let's is always for a suggestion, and let's is a short form of let us. Clear? So get out is an order. Please help us, request. Let's go there, suggestion. Right. Now the rule is this, listen. In the case of an order, no matter whether the sentence is negative or positive, in the tag we have to use won't. In the case of a request, no matter whether the sentence is negative or positive, in the tag we have to use will. In the case of a suggestion, No matter whether the sentence is negative or positive, in the tag we have to use shall. Clear? So whether the sentence is negative or positive does not matter in the case of an order, a request and a suggestion. I repeat, in the case of an order, no matter whether the sentence is negative or positive, use won't in the tag. In the case of a request, no matter whether the sentence is negative or positive, use will in the tag. In the case of a suggestion, no matter whether the sentence is negative or positive, use shall in the tag. Now come to the first one. Get out is an order, so in the tag we have to use won't. So undoubtedly it must be won't. The subject here is you, understood. Get out means you get out. The subject here is you, understood, so it must be won't you. Please help us is a request, so in the tag we have to use will. Please help us means you please help us. The subject here is you, understood, so it must be will you. Let's go there is suggestion. If it is suggestion we have to use shall. So undoubtedly it must be shall. Let's is a short form of let us. The pronoun here is us. Us is an objective pronoun and the subjective the subjective form of us is we. In the tag we need a subjective pronoun and not an objective pronoun. Let us changes to we, so it must be shall. Get out, won't you? Please help us, will you? Let's go there, shall. Clear? So we can frame a tag based on the auxiliary verb and the subject, the pronoun in the sentence. We don't use full forms in the tag, we use only short forms in the tag. The pronoun that appears in the tag must be in the subjective form. If there is an N word in the sentence, in the tag there should not be an N word. If there is no N word in the sentence, in the tag there must be an N word. And this is a rule that needs to be kept in mind in the case of an order, request and a request and a suggestion. This much is fine for us in the case of tags. There will not be any direct question on tags. In the case of spotting the sentence improvement, we may come across a question on tags. Got it? The next session we'll go for an exercise on the same topic. Thank you.